The deal she couldn't refuse. The sky on Zyora Prime was purple the day Alara's life changed forever. She stood quietly on the balcony of her family's tower, watching the twin suns set behind the glass mountains. Her long silver hair moved gently in the wind, but her mind was filled with storm. Downstairs, her father was making a deal that would sell her future to a stranger. Alara was only 19 galactic cycles old. She belonged to the noble house of Velthari, once proud and powerful, but now poor and forgotten. Her family had lost everything after the last trade war. The nobles no longer visited. The servants were gone. The walls were cracked, and the ships were grounded. And the debt? It was huge, bigger than what any Xiran family could pay. Her father, Lord Kale, had begged the Interstellar Syndicate for mercy, but they gave him only one option: repay the debt with a marriage alliance. To a human, Alara felt sick thinking about it. Humans were seen as dangerous, aggressive, emotional, and primitive. Zyorans had always believed they were better, more advanced, more elegant. Marrying a human was shameful. She heard footsteps behind her. It was her younger brother, Soren. His eyes were full of sadness. "They're waiting for you," he said softly. "The contract is ready." Alara turned to him. "Did father even ask what I want?" Soren looked away. "He doesn't have a choice." Neither did she. The main hall was cold and empty, except for the long table where her father sat with two strangers. One of them wore a black coat with the Syndicate's golden symbol. The other was tall, broad-shouldered, and quiet. The human. His name was Eli. Alara had never seen a human this close before. His skin was sun-kissed, his eyes sharp but calm. He didn't look angry or wild. He looked tired and serious. "This is my daughter, Alara," Lord Kale said, gesturing to her without meeting her eyes. Eli stood up and nodded politely. "It's an honor." Alara did not respond. The syndicate officer placed a glowing device on the table. "As agreed, the debt will be cleared. In return, Alara of House Velthari will marry Eli Mercer of Earth Colony 7. The marriage will last for 10 standard years." Alara stepped forward slowly. Her voice was low but firm. "Do I have a choice?" The officer didn't answer. Her father didn't look at her. But Eli did. "No," the officer said finally. "This is not a choice. It is an agreement." Alara stared at Eli. "And you? Do you want this?" Eli hesitated. "Want is not the word I'd use. But I agreed to it, for my own reasons." Alara's hands tightened into fists, but she said nothing. She pressed her thumb to the device. A soft beep confirmed her consent. The contract was complete. Later that night, Alara sat alone in her room. The stars outside seemed farther than ever. Her new husband would return tomorrow with a ship to take her away, to a space station far from home. A place where humans and aliens lived together under syndicate law. A knock came at the door. She didn't answer, but it opened anyway. Eli walked in, careful and respectful. "I wanted to talk," he said. Alara didn't turn. "There's nothing to say." He took a slow breath. "I didn't ask for this either. But I don't want to hurt you." She stood and faced him. "Then why did you agree?" Eli's eyes were unreadable. "Sometimes, people like us don't get to choose. We just try to do what's right." Alara's voice shook. "And this feels right to you?" "No," he said honestly. "But I'll try to protect you. That's something I can promise." She stared at him, searching for lies. But he looked calm, not fake, not cruel. Still, she turned away. "Good night, Eli." He nodded. "Good night, Alara." The next morning, the ship arrived. A sleek, black vessel with syndicate markings. Alara said goodbye to her brother with a silent hug. Her father gave her a brief nod, like a business deal was done. She stepped aboard with Eli. The doors closed behind them. As the ship rose into the clouds, Alara stood near the window, refusing to look at her new husband. But then, something strange happened. Eli took off his jacket and placed a small photo on the wall. It showed a young girl, maybe 6 or 7, with bright eyes and short hair. She looked human, but something about her felt familiar. Alara frowned. Who is she? Eli looked at the photo for a moment, then answered, someone I failed to protect. I won't make that mistake again. He turned and walked away. Alara looked at the photo again. A cold feeling crept into her heart. She wasn't just marrying a stranger. She was walking into a mystery, one that might be more dangerous than she ever imagined. The journey through space was quiet. Too quiet. Alara sat across from Eli inside the small living area of the syndicate ship. The engine hummed softly, like a beast breathing in its sleep. Outside the window, stars rushed past like silver rain. She had not spoken since they left Zyora Prime. Eli didn't try to break the silence. He simply sat with his arms crossed, eyes half closed, like he had learned to wait through storms. But Alara wasn't just quiet. She was studying him. This human was strange. Not wild, not loud, not dangerous, not yet. He was calm in a way that made her nervous, like a soldier resting between battles. Finally, she spoke. You didn't ask me if I wanted to sit here. Eli looked up, not surprised. Did you want me to ask? She frowned. Yes. Okay, he said. Would you like me to ask before I sit next time? Alara didn't answer. She didn't like the way he turned her anger into softness. He was careful with words, too careful. Why did you agree to this marriage? She asked. Eli leaned back slightly. To pay a debt. Your debt. He shook his head. Someone else's. Alara waited, but he said nothing more. She didn't like puzzles, especially human ones. The space station they arrived at was called Station K-17, a syndicate-owned base floating near the edge of neutral space. It was massive, shaped like a spinning wheel, with lights blinking along its metal arms. It was built for trade, peace, and control. As they walked through the docking bay, aliens from many species stared at them. Some nodded. Others whispered. Alara walked beside Eli, her chin raised high. If she had to live in this cage, she would not do it in shame. Their quarters were small but clean. A shared apartment, 2 rooms, 1 common area, and a window facing the stars. Pick whichever room you like, Eli said, dropping his bag. Alara stared at the closed doors. We're married. Shouldn't you choose for me? He raised an eyebrow. Do you want me to? She narrowed her eyes. No. Then pick whichever you like, he said with a slight smile. She hated that smile. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't fake. It was real. She picked the room on the left. Days passed. They lived together but not together. Eli went out often, said he had work with the syndicate. Alara didn't ask questions. She spent most of her time learning about humans, watching them, trying to understand how one species could be so chaotic, yet so powerful. But something didn't add up. Eli had no family photos, no letters, no messages, just that one picture, the little girl she'd seen on the ship. One night she couldn't sleep. The station's soft lights glowed under her door. She heard Eli moving outside. She stepped out. He was standing near the window, looking out at the stars. He didn't hear her at first. His back was straight, but his shoulders looked heavy. You look like you're waiting for something, she said. Eli didn't turn. Maybe I am. For what? He paused. A reason. To do what? He looked at her now. To fight. Or to stop fighting. She tilted her head. You were a soldier? He didn't answer, but she saw it in his eyes. Not just a soldier. A warrior with scars on the inside. The next morning, Alara woke early. She wanted to think, to walk, to breathe. Something inside her felt wrong. She walked into the living area. Eli was gone, but something on the table caught her eye. A small black box. She opened it carefully. Inside, there was a folded piece of paper, not digital. Real paper. Very old. There was writing on it. Human code. Military style. She had learned some during her training years ago. The message said, keep her safe. They're watching. Alara's blood turned cold. Who was watching? She closed the box quickly and placed it back exactly as it was. When Eli returned later, she watched him closely. He didn't act like someone hiding something. But now she was sure. He wasn't just her groom. He was protecting her from something. That night, as she lay in bed, Alara remembered her father's last words before she boarded the ship. He's not what he seems, but he is your only chance. At the time, she had thought it was just fear. Now she wasn't so sure. Outside her room, she heard Eli's voice, very soft, speaking into a communicator. She couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. It was a warning, and it wasn't meant for her. The space station never truly slept. Even during night hours, the hallways stayed lit, the air recycling quietly, machines humming like distant whispers. For most people, the silence was peaceful, but for Alara, it was full of secrets. She sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the small black box on the table, the one she had opened in secret. The message inside still echoed in her head. Keep her safe. They're watching. She hadn't told Eli she saw it. Not yet. She needed to know more. Who was watching? And why did he need to keep her safe? Eli, as always, acted calm. Too calm. That morning, he made something called Earth-style tea. Smelled strange but warm. He offered her a cup. Alara took it without smiling. You were out late again, she said. I had to meet someone, he replied. Who? He shrugged. Syndicate officer. Routine check-in. Alara sipped the tea slowly. She didn't trust the words. Not because they were lies, but because they were too clean. Do you always follow orders? She asked. Eli met her eyes. No, only the ones that matter. Then he walked away. Later that day, while Eli was gone, Alara did something she hadn't done in years. She accessed the old war archives. It was risky. The syndicate didn't like civilians poking around. But Alara still had clearance from her academy days. She once trained to be a diplomat. Before her world fell into debt. Before her life was sold away. She typed Eli's full name into the database. Eli Mercer. Human. Earth Colony 7. Results flashed on the screen. Former soldier. Special Recon Unit. Classified missions. Dishonorably discharged. Reason? Unknown. Record sealed. Alara leaned back in her chair. Her heart beat faster. Who was this man? And why would someone like him agree to marry a stranger? That evening, Eli returned with a small box of supplies. Food, station credits, 2 power cells. He placed them neatly in the corner. Been shopping? Alara asked. Just being ready, he replied. For what? Eli didn't answer. Instead, he sat near the window again, looking out at the stars like they were speaking to him. Alara walked up behind him, quiet as a shadow. You're hiding something, she said softly. Eli didn't look back. So are you. That surprised her. What do you think I'm hiding? She asked. Eli turned now. His eyes weren't angry, just tired, like someone who had seen too much. You're not just some girl from a noble house. You read codes. You watch people like a soldier. And you haven't asked once why I agreed to this marriage. You already know the answer. Alara's voice was a whisper. Then say it. Eli stood up and walked past her. But before leaving the room, he said something that stayed with her. We're not here to love each other, Alara. We're here to survive. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Alara kept thinking about the sealed military file, the coded message, the calm, careful man who had once been a soldier and now acted like a ghost with a mission. Was he protecting her or watching her? And why? Around midnight, she woke with a strange feeling, like something was wrong. She stepped out of her room. The hallway lights were dim. Everything was quiet, too quiet. She walked toward the kitchen when she saw it. A tiny red light blinking in the corner of the ceiling. At first, she thought it was a sensor, but then it moved, just slightly, tiny lens adjusting, a hidden camera. Alara froze. Not one of the standard surveillance cams the syndicate used. This one was small, unauthorized, planted secretly. She stepped back slowly, heart racing. Someone was spying on their apartment. And not just watching the outside, watching her. The next morning, she didn't mention the camera to Eli. Not yet. Instead, she walked the station corridors alone, thinking. In the market sector, she passed a strange figure, tall, cloaked, face half covered. They made brief eye contact. Something about the figure made her skin crawl, like she had seen them before, in a dream, or a nightmare. She turned quickly to look again, but they were gone. When she returned to the apartment, Eli was cleaning a weapon. Not a normal one, a Mark 7 pulse dagger. Illegal on syndicate stations. Small, sharp, and deadly. "Where did you get that?" she asked. Eli looked up. "Old habit." Alara narrowed her eyes. "You're planning something, aren't you?" Eli stared at her, quiet, then finally said, "I'm not the only one here with a target on my back." That night, Alara stood in the dark, watching the camera. It blinked again, and this time she smiled faintly, because now she was watching it back. Space was silent, deathly silent. But on Station K-17, someone had decided to break that silence with murder. The morning started like any other. Alara stepped into the airlock hallway. It was the section between their apartment level and the transport bay. She came here every morning to take the long walk alone. It helped her think, helped her breathe. Eli was inside, as usual, watching over his strange tools, cleaning the same illegal dagger he never explained. She didn't tell him about the blinking red camera. Not yet, because today, she planned to search deeper. She had noticed something strange in the syndicate floor schematics. A hidden maintenance room near the airlock. It wasn't on the official map. She wanted to know what was inside. She walked down the steel corridor, humming lightly, keeping her steps slow and even. Around her, the airlock systems hummed softly. Lights blinked green. Everything seemed fine, until she passed the motion sensor. Suddenly, the lights flickered red. Alara froze. A loud hiss echoed through the hallway. Then the screen near the door flashed. Airlock sequence. Opening. Her heart jumped. No. 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 She ran back toward the door, but the emergency seal slammed shut. The outer hatch creaked as it began to unlock. One more second and she'd be pulled into open space. Back in the apartment, Eli looked up. His communicator blinked red. Emergency. Airlock 3 breach. He didn't think. He ran. Inside the airlock, Alara pounded her fist against the control panel. Override. Manual override. Access denied. The outer hatch cracked open. Wind roared. Alara grabbed a steel bar, holding tight. Her body began to lift off the floor. Then bang. The panel exploded in sparks. The inner door flew open. Eli rushed in, hit the emergency shutoff, and slammed the hatch closed. The sequence stopped. Silence returned. Both of them were breathing hard. Alara was still holding the bar, eyes wide. Eli walked over slowly. You okay? She nodded but said nothing. He helped her up. Malfunction? He asked. Alara shook her head. No, she said. That was murder. They sat in the apartment for a long time, saying nothing. Then Eli spoke first. Someone hacked the system. That door doesn't open by mistake. I told you, Alara whispered. They're watching us. I saw a camera last night. Eli stood up and grabbed his bag. Where are you going? She asked. To find out who's trying to kill you. 2 hours later, he returned. With blood on his shirt. Alara stood up fast. What happened? I followed the signal from the hacked panel, Eli said, throwing a small device on the table. Found the tech who planted the code. He was syndicate, or at least dressed like it. Alive. Eli shook his head. Alara didn't ask for details. That night she couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, heart still racing. Her body still remembered the force of the wind, the terror of space just inches away. Eli was sitting in the common room again. Still, silent. She walked out slowly. I could have died, she said. I know, he replied. Why did you save me? She asked. This marriage is fake. You didn't have to. Eli looked up at her. For the first time, his eyes were soft. Honest. I made a promise. Not just to you. To someone else. Alara stepped closer. To who? He picked up the small photo from the shelf. The same girl from the ship. He held it in both hands. My sister, he said. She died because I trusted the wrong people. I won't repeat that mistake. Alara sat down beside him. Slowly, carefully. There was silence between them. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was healing. The next day, Alara received a message. It wasn't from the syndicate. It was from someone anonymous. Just one sentence. You weren't the only target. He is next. She stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. Whatever was happening here, whoever was behind it, this wasn't just about money or marriage. This was war in shadows. Later that evening, as Eli locked down the apartment for the night, he noticed something strange near the hallway floor. A thin scratch mark, curved, almost like a claw. Did you see this? He asked Alara. She shook her head. He leaned closer, touched it. It was warm, fresh. Eli stood up slowly. We're not alone, he whispered. And far above, in a dark corner of station K-17, a figure watched them through a cracked lens. Red eyes blinking, waiting. Sometimes the truth doesn't knock, crashes in. Alara's hands were shaking, not from fear, from realization. She stared at the holographic file glowing in front of her. A file she wasn't supposed to find. One buried deep inside the syndicate's private database, hidden under layers of old political treaties and coded documents. The marriage contract was a lie. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about peace. It was about her. An hour earlier, she had hacked the syndicate terminal on level 9. A risky move. Cameras, guards, encryption traps, all real threats. But Alara had always been more than a noble daughter. Her people once trained diplomats in the art of war behind closed walls. She had learned those tricks well, and now they led her to the truth. The contract wasn't filed under Debt Repayment Agreement. It was stored under Project KRYNX, Biological Asset Transfer. Her name was listed as Subject AL 347, Class V Bio-Key Candidate. What did that mean? And why was Eli involved? She returned to the apartment quietly. Eli was cleaning a blaster again, eyes narrowed with focus. She walked in and dropped the data crystal on the table. Found this on level 9. He looked up, calm, as always, but something in his face changed when he saw the crystal. You went into their system? He asked. I needed answers. Eli didn't say anything, so she gave him the truth. They didn't marry me to pay a debt, she said. They sold me because of what I am. Eli looked at her, slow and careful. What do you think you are? She sat down across from him. Her voice trembled, but not from fear. I think I'm not normal. I think something inside me, something genetic, gives me access to old tech, from before the wars. She paused. They called me a bio-key. Eli leaned back in his chair. That's what they called my sister too. Alara froze. Your sister? She whispered. Eli nodded. His face was hard now. She wasn't just a child. She was a test subject. The syndicate found out she could control ancient machines, the kind we don't even understand anymore. They took her, promised to protect her. I believed them. He clenched his jaw. She died in their lab, alone. The room fell silent. Alara finally understood why he agreed to the marriage. He wasn't just protecting her. He was at war with the ones who had used his sister, the same ones now targeting her. But something didn't fit. Why would they need me married to you? She asked. Why a human? Eli looked out the window, watching ships pass. Because your kind can unlock the tech, he said. But mine can control it. What? Ziorans can open ancient systems, he explained. But only with a human genetic match can the system stay stable. It's why they wanted us together. Not for romance. For activation. Her breath caught. You're saying we're keys. Together. Eli nodded. They don't care about us. Just what we can do. Alara stood up, shaking. Then why not just take me? Like they took your sister. Eli met her eyes, and for the first time she saw something raw. They were going to, but I made a deal. I offered myself instead. As your guardian. As your husband. I gave up my freedom. to keep them from turning you into a weapon. She took a step back. You've been lying to me. I've been trying to protect you. You used me. I saved you. Silence again. And then her voice cracked. I don't know whether to hate you or thank you. I'll take both, Eli said. As long as you stay alive. That night, Alara couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching stars burn like sparks across black glass. She wasn't just a girl from a dying noble house. She was a tool, a key, a weapon in a war she never joined. And the man she was forced to marry? He knew it all along. But he didn't hand her over. He stayed. And now, they were both trapped in a storm much bigger than either of them. Suddenly, a red light blinked on the wall. Incoming transmission. No origin code. Alara answered it, heart pounding. A voice, mechanical, cold, spoke just one sentence. Prepare to activate the gate. The test begins tomorrow. She stared at the screen. The gate? What gate? She turned to Eli, who was already on his feet, hand on his weapon. We're out of time, he said. She looked at him. No more secrets. Just war. And whatever this gate was, it would open something far more dangerous than truth. The sky didn't fall, but something else did. Everything they believed. The message haunted them both. Prepare to activate the gate. The test begins tomorrow. Eli had heard those words before. Once. Long ago. Before his sister died. Now he was pacing the room, grabbing weapons, stashing data drives, locking down codes. Alara sat frozen on the edge of the couch, staring at the glowing screen. What is the gate? She finally asked. Eli paused. His voice was low. It's a weapon hidden in space, a remnant from the old galaxy, something built before even the Syndicate existed. It can destroy planets or worse, rewrite them. Alara blinked. Rewrite. Change gravity, time, laws of life. We don't know how it works, but the Syndicate's been trying to control it for years. And I'm the key, she said flatly. You and me. Together, Eli said, holstering a blaster. And if I refuse, they'll force you, like they tried with my sister, until she bled. Alara stood. Her voice was steel now. Then let's run. They didn't have much time. The station had guards, surveillance drones, motion scanners, but Eli knew their paths. He'd been preparing this escape for weeks, just in case. He didn't tell Alara that. Not yet. She followed him through the back corridors, places the Syndicate avoided. Old cargo tunnels with flickering lights and rusted walls. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Alara hugged her coat tight. Where are we going? She asked. There's a ship hidden on deck 47. Not Syndicate. Off-grid. Fast. Yours. No, he said. Stolen. But when they reached deck 47, the air smelled wrong. Burnt metal, gun oil, and something else. Blood. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Stay close, Eli whispered. He drew his blaster. Alara stepped behind him. The door to the hidden dock was slightly open. Inside, the ship sat in darkness. The lights were off, but not the engines. They were still warm. Someone had just arrived or was still inside. Eli moved first. He stepped into the dock, slow, careful. That's when it happened. Bang! A laser shot grazed his shoulder. He dropped to the floor, rolled, fired back. Alara ducked behind a crate, heart pounding. A second figure appeared, tall, armored, Syndicate elite. But not a soldier. A hunter, sent to bring Alara in alive. And Eli? Dead. The fight was fast and brutal. Eli took a hit in the side. The hunter moved like a machine, no fear, no mercy. But Alara, she felt something click inside her. A strange hum in her chest. She touched the side panel of the ship, and the ship responded. Lights powered on. Cannons locked in. Without knowing how, she accessed the system with her mind. The ship wasn't just connected to her. It recognized her. Biokey confirmed. Pilot identified. Eli saw it too. Alara, how are you doing that? I don't know, she shouted. But the ship moved under her touch. With one final blast from the ship's cannon, The hunter was thrown into the wall, unconscious, but alive. Eli limped to the pilot's seat. Alara followed. "She's yours now," he said, breathing hard. "Fly." The ship broke through the outer station wall, alarms screaming behind them. They jumped to warp speed just before the Syndicate activated the docking lockdown. Alara sat in silence, hands shaking, breathing sharp. Eli leaned against the wall, holding his side. "You're bleeding," she said, reaching for the med kit. "I've had worse. You should have told me. I didn't think we'd make it this far." Later, when they were safe in deep space, Eli showed her something. A small chip from his pocket. One of his sister's last recordings. He placed it in the holoplayer. A young voice echoed in the cabin. "If you find someone like me, protect them. Don't let them become what I almost did." Alara wiped her eyes. She never knew this girl, but she felt like she had. "What was her name?" she asked softly. "Lyra. She was strong." Eli nodded. "You are too." They flew for hours, past the red moons of Arkan 5, past the ruins of the drift cities, past Syndicate control, into the human colonies. Alara had never seen them before. They were wild, loud, beautiful. People smiled. Children played. The air smelled like fire and freedom. Alara stood in the open, letting sunlight touch her face. "This is what they fear," she said. Eli looked at her. "What?" "You, your people, your spirit." He smiled faintly. "And now they fear you too." But peace didn't last. Alara received another message. Direct, untraceable. "The gate has awakened. You are the signal. Return, or the sky burns." She stared at it, then looked at Eli. "We're not done running," she said. "No," he replied. "Now we fight." The stars were no longer silent. They were screaming. Across the galaxy, strange signals echoed through deep space, pulsing from one dark system to another like a heartbeat, like a countdown. The gate had awakened, and it was calling to one voice, Alara's. She stood on the edge of a cliff, high above the rocky plains of Yara 3, the abandoned world where the ancient tech had been buried for thousands of years. The gate stood before her, a massive metal ring, floating above the ground, humming with impossible energy. It wasn't just a machine. It was alive. Eli stood beside her. His arm was still bandaged. His face was tired, but his eyes focused. "This is the place," he said quietly. Alara nodded. The signal from the gate vibrated inside her bones now. She could feel it pulling her, not just her body, but her blood. "It's waiting for me." "Then we go in together," Eli said. "No," she said, turning to face him. "I go in alone." He frowned. "I didn't follow you across the stars just to let you walk into that thing alone." Alara smiled faintly. "And I didn't survive the Syndicate just to lose you now." Suddenly, ships appeared in the sky. Sleek, black, Syndicate class. Dozens. They formed a circle above them like vultures. Then, a voice rang out from the sky. "Alara of Zyora, you have been called. Enter the gate, or watch everything you love burn." Alara stared up at the clouds, then stepped forward. "Fine," she whispered. "You want me? I'll come." Eli grabbed her arm. "I'm not letting them take you." She looked into his eyes. "I'm not letting them win." She walked slowly toward the gate. As she stepped onto the platform, the ancient metal began to glow, gold and white energy rippling around her feet. The floating ring spun faster. Wind howled. Dust rose. Alara's eyes glowed with light. And then, she vanished. Inside the gate was not space, not time. It was something beyond. A place between worlds, between futures, a memory buried in metal. She saw visions. Her home, her brother, her father, Eli. Then she saw herself, but not as she was, as something more, connected to the machines, speaking their language, holding stars in her hands. And in the center of the gate, a choice. "Do you accept your purpose?" a voice asked. "Do you accept to be used, or to take control?" Alara stood tall. "I won't be a weapon." Then you must destroy the gate. But what happens to me? You were born from it. To end it is to end what you were made for. Silence. Then she smiled. Good. Outside, Eli watched the gate spin faster. The syndicate ships began to descend, ready to land. Eli pulled out his blaster. One man. Against all of them. He didn't care. But then, boom! A wave of energy exploded from the gate. Not an attack. A shutdown. All syndicate ships froze in the sky. Engines dead. Lights gone. Then slowly the gate cracked. Piece by piece, it collapsed into itself, falling like a star folding inward. And from the center, Alara stepped out, her eyes no longer glowing, but alive, breathing, free. Eli ran to her. You did it, he said. She nodded. It's over. No, he said, smiling. It's just beginning. Weeks passed. The syndicate fell into chaos. Without the gate, without its weapon, its control began to break. Whispers of rebellion rose across the stars. And in the middle of it all, Alara and Eli, no longer fugitives, no longer forced, but something more. They returned to Station K-17. This time, not in secret. The people remembered. The ones who tried to kill her were gone. The ones who feared her now looked with respect. She wasn't a tool anymore. She was a symbol of resistance, of change, of choice. One night, on the balcony of their small new home, Eli looked at her under the twin moons. Funny, he said. We were never supposed to care about each other. She leaned into him. We were never supposed to survive either. He smiled. But we did. She kissed him. Not because she had to. Not because the contract demanded it. But because she wanted to. They forced her to marry a human to repay a debt. But in the end, she rewrote the stars.